got your pants on because we're about to fly by our own with them open. Josh said something about flying by with his open pants. What did you say? Seat of his pants.
Seat of my pants, because I have no notes for this.
We've got no notes. We've got no formulaic intro.
No.
We just come here and tell you our thoughts about something and you listen. So that's what we're doing here. I'm Will.
I'm Josh. What is the seat of one's pants?
So straight away I think crotch. Because just because the idea of flying by, like, that just sort of feels like, you know, the fly of a pant.
Ooh. I like that connection. I never would have connected fly to
the pants.
Also the word fly, apparently.
Hang on. Let me find out. I'm going to find out right now.
Please do.
I need to know.
This is what people are here for. This is why they turned up for this.
Okay, aircraft initially had few navigation aids and flying was accomplished by means of the pilot's judgment. So basically, they're literally flying by their own, like, judgment.
Okay.
Which is the fly part of it. I don't know about pants. The fly, now I've gotten the fly part of it, but the pants are still in limbo.
Awesome. Love it. Good start of the pod. Welcome.
Do you want more chaos? I'm just going to get my dinner.
Yes. Okay. Oh, no.
We're going to be talking about Black Widow while I eat my dinner. And that is about as much effort as you need to put into watching this movie. Mm-hmm. That's not to be a negative, but this film is just kind of here, and it's just here to have fun. Like, how did you feel as, like, a spoiler-free thoughts on the movie Black Widow?
Yeah, definitely just, you know, it's a fun movie. Since it's a prequel, there's kind of pretty low stakes overall because, like, there's moments where, you know, she could possibly die. You know, all of these superhero movies have that. But she's not gonna because it's a prequel. No. This is like years previous to her dying, you know? So the stakes are pretty low overall. So it's just kind of one that you can, like, sit back and chill and just watch. Like, I really enjoyed it for the most part. Like, it was great. It just had some really solid moments, I guess. Just, like, a lot of fun.
And you, unlike me, were able to see it at a cinema.
Yes.
And as, like, the first Marvel product in a cinema in almost...
Nearly 2 years.
Definitely over a year and a half, because Spider-Man Far From Home was, like, July... 2019 or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
right.
How was that? How was that seeing the Marvel logo in the cinema for the first time?
It's so big. It's so good. I freaking love it. Oh man, it's so satisfying to see just massive and just be blasted at you. Oh man, it was very good. I'm so glad to have had that experience. I hope it's still in cinemas for you guys. When you get out, would you go see it at the cinemas if you had a chance?
I think possibly, yeah. I think if because there are action sequences in this, and we'll dive into spoilers in a second, that I think are well worth possibly seeing in 4D. So if there's 4D cinemas blasting it away, I might just go see it in that.
Damn. Like, yeah, okay.
Might as well.
Cool.
As a very different experience. Because, I obviously, being in Sydney currently, we're all in lockdown. I had to watch it from home. Watch it from this very room in that very chair.
In that
audio
chair?
Listeners. Yeah. I pulled that out. It was really relaxing.
Do you ever sit in that chair?
Never.
It's
Never
such a
in my life.
fancy looking chair. It's like it's a throne.
Well, I thought it's a throne. I was like, it's a velvety kind of chair. I was like, I should pretend I'm in the cinema. So I did.
That's really cool. Nice.
I had that. I had my little side table with a cider. But then it all kind of falls apart because I use this chair as my footstool because I don't have one to kind of recline back.
Sure.
But it was very, very comfortable. And
cool.
It's interesting because for you, it was obviously a full cinematic experience. For me, I was watching it through Disney Plus at home. Yeah. And for me, I still adored it. And I talked to our boy Sam as well, and he had the same experience where this whole thing, despite the quality of it all, the whole time, we were just waiting for the end of, like, the credits of an episode. Yeah. Because it still felt... Because the shows are so good, like, the Disney Plus shows are so at budget with these films, that watching it at home, I couldn't get in my mind that it was a film because... because the other element is it's a very low-stakes film, like you said, and it's about like a non-powered character, which, you know, obviously Wanda and Vision are pretty powered, but they're stripped of those powers for a lot of those shows. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're kind of just souped up dudes. Loki has little elements of superpowers, but really it's all three shows have kind of been low stakes about fairly normal heroes. And this was that again. So it didn't feel like a film. And there was so many moments where I forgot I forgot I was watching a movie. Yeah. But for you, you got to watch the action in the cinema, and like, yes. I guess the scale of that definitely would have helped.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things I just thought of that kind of really adds to that cinema experience is seeing it with other people. So like just experiencing it with like people laughing, people like, you know, just feeling the reactions and hearing the reactions of everyone around you. That's always such a cool experience, especially like I saw it on Thursday. So that was, you know, the official release day. So totally everyone there hadn't seen it before. You would imagine, or at least most people. And so it was just like, that's always one of the best parts of a cinema experience, is experiencing this movie with everyone else and just, you know, being able to laugh together, like being surprised together, just that whole experience. It was very, very cool. Yeah.
But despite the fact that they were all people that hadn't seen the film before, some of them left before the end of the credits.
They still don't know. Like, honestly, almost half of my cinema left when the opening credits started going. It was insane. Like, so many people got up. It was bizarre. I will say, do not understand.
I partially understand, purely if you were kind of, I don't know, racing. I don't know why you would even leave a cinema. Like, just watch the credits, fine. But, and this isn't exactly a spoiler for the film, but the credits in it are, for the first time in Marvel history, I think, standard black and white credits with no like flair to them in any way. So they actually look like the credits that usually come after the really big one that has a mid-credit scene, and then it's those. So I think maybe a lot of people saw them and were like, oh, I guess that's the end of everything. Sure. There's nothing more for me to watch here. But still, it's a Marvel movie. You know it's gonna happen. Yeah. They've
always got them, and if there isn't one between, like, because there's, like, more recently in the later ones, there's been two. So there's like your fancy graphic ones, cutscene. Yep. Your boring, just black scrolling ones. Another cutscene.
Totally, and there's still more.
Yep. But yeah, this is just straight to black scrolling, and then right at the end, which is a shame. We're skipping straight to the credits to review those, apparently. But
yeah.
Like with the visual that we have here for this video, sorry for audio listeners, but it's such a like striking color. Like you said, it's the default red.
Totally,
on like a color wheel. If you just go to like red, as red as you can get.
Yep.
Was it like 25500?
Sure.
Yeah. That it's that red, so it's just so bright, and they could have done such cool things with it. Like, it could have looked so good. You know, like one of the best parts of the initial trailer was her silhouette, like walking through that red thing. They could have just had that, like, very, you know, James Bond credits-esque kind of like silhouettes and stuff, but it's this really striking red on a very stark black.
Hourglass.
Yeah. Like, that would have been sick. But yeah, just straight to normal. And
straight to normal credits.
And everyone left. It's very dumb.
Left. But one place that didn't have boring credits was the opening. And let's just dive into spoilers. Yes. Basically, we both loved it. And it's a Marvel movie, so you need to see it. By law, if you want to watch any other movie, you will have to see this movie at some point.
Correct.
So please, go watch it.
Or TV shows. Yeah.
Or TV. There's a lot for you to watch, Emmy.
Well, I just mean, like, if you want to understand the TV shows in the future, totally. Gonna have to watch this.
You need to watch this. That's true. There is a bit. But yes, this movie, I think, has one of the strongest openings of any Marvel movie.
Yep.
Which is interesting, because in the trailers, there was obviously the blue-haired Black Widow child, and every time I saw that, I'm like, oh, this sequence is going to be so annoying. Like, the children actors are probably going to be a bit shit. They'll ham it up and all of that. I don't think they're particularly good, and I don't think it's not hammy, but it all works so well. There's like such an incredible tone and pace to the entire like first 15 minutes of the movie. I was like, and it's the unfortunate thing that a lot of Marvel movies have. I don't think it ever quite lives up to that first 15 minutes. Like once it gets into the present stuff, it slowly drips back into the Marvel usual tropes and stuff, and it feels a little bit less like directed. But the first 15 minutes are so tight and great.
Yeah, I think it's like there's just a full on like mystery happening straight away. Like
totally,
you just do not know what's happening, because as soon as it's the what am I saying? Natasha and her sister. Like they're just playing around. Natasha's little sister gets hurt. Her mum comes out, helps her, takes both kids inside for dinner, and then Red Guardian comes in. What's his name?
Alexi? Is he Alexi? Or is that was the dude who was fighting?
That's Alexi.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's Alexi. He comes home and he's just clearly distressed, and you're like, what's all this about? And that's just when tensions start rising. Yeah. And then it's just from there, it's just like just action sequences and stuff from there. And I think you said it, we both were sort of talking about it as you were watching, because you were messaging me about it while I was at work. So I was getting like a play-by-play as Will was watching this. Yeah. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie at the start.
Not at all.
Right up until
it's
like
so good.
once the opening credits, because the opening credits certainly don't seem like a Marvel movie.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But yeah, right up until that point, it's something else. I don't know what, but damn, they did well. It's sick.
It's incredible. Like, I want to watch it again for the moment that I think, because up until this moment, there's no superhero-ness to it. It's very spy, and like you said, there's a lot of intrigue and stuff. Yeah. But the minute that David Harbour just like rips something off, and it just, the thing, like I think he rips off like a wheel of a car or something and just throws it. There's like a moment where he shows his strength.
There's
and
a
I
point,
remember when that happened, I was just like,
yeah, I think he like throws a trailer or something out of the way because the plane needs to come out, and he kind of goes over to it, feels the weight, and then just goes
kicks
bang.
It's so quick. Cool. And like the way he like jumps onto the wing and stuff, like there's some great action in this, and all the action's actually really, it's not quite the like Russo brothers Winter Soldier Civil War vibe, but it's a little bit more, and I mean the film is definitely inspired by it, a little bit more like Jason Bourne, that kind of modern spy thriller movie, but not cut terribly, because those often have the problem of just like cutting things to pieces. Sorry, I spat out a bit of bean. Anyone listening to the audio version, way better to enjoy than this. But those opening credits, all I've heard, everyone I've talked to have said that they are either almost or did cry. Yeah. Because it's like, it's so intense that your body just does not know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's not what you expect when you go into a Marvel movie. Like, seeing that, you're just like, what is happening? It seems like a propaganda video over the top of a slow, like really hammy version of like female sung version of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
It should not work.
By Nirvana.
It's so gross. But it's such a gross cover, but it works so well.
I'm just really glad that it wasn't like an obvious song. There wasn't like anything in particular that was like really like Black Widow, Spider, spy, Russian, obvious in that sort of thing. Like it was just a really epically slow ballad version of a Nirvana song for some reason. But geez, it's intense.
Yeah. It's like, and the footage and stuff and the way it all cuts.
Yeah.
Because I think, and it's not a disappointment because I love the film for everything it does. I don't think there's maybe one or two things that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but the film doesn't really do the thing that I think a lot of people expected, which was diving back to the Red Room and like how she was brought through it and all the stuff that I think they kind of teased, and they teased obviously an Age of Ultron in her like mind scene. Mm-hmm. None of that ever really comes up here apart from this little montage of seeing, experiments happen and all that. And as much as it does annoy me that we spend time on like her weird Q guy that just brings weapons to her at random places, and there's a few little scenes that they could have cut and had scenes that were with these younger characters that we set up at the start of the movie just to see a little bit more of their life growing up in the Red Room and stuff like that. And that's one of the things I'm a little bit sad, but I think what they do show in this montage sets up a tone and sets up a kind of understanding of what the Red Room was for them, that it does its job. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and we've seen Red Room stuff before, so I'm kind of glad they didn't just kind of go over it again.
Totally.
Like we've been there. We've seen it. This was just a really good overview and a very intense in-your-face version of it. Like I said, it's very like propaganda kind of like wartime, just shots and shots and shots, and they're like grainy kind of found footage type things, and it's very intense. It's cool.
So good. But and look, to be honest, it's probably the most in-depth we will go in anything else regarding to this movie, because from there on, it's like, it's almost a little bit confusing, the kind of setup of everything, because obviously this is taking place after Civil War. Everyone's on the run unless they were on Tony's side kind of deal. Ross is tracking down a bunch of people. Interesting thing with Ross is, obviously, he has this scene at the start where he has like maybe 2 or 3 lines. There's the implication that he's going to capture Natasha at the end of the movie once everything's gone down. Which is such a weird sequence that it just kind of fades away. Very bizarre.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, right at the end of the movie, spoilers for that, but you're in the spoiler section, you get Val turns up to talk to Yelena. So what people are wondering, because William Hurt, which is the actor, he's gotten into some hot water recently. People are wondering if they've actually maybe dropped his character in vein of Val, and she will, because obviously she's setting up a bit of the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers, and obviously that's usually Ross's deal. And the fact that we get such a bare minimum in a movie where he really should have a bit of a involvement, it's like, people are wondering if they've maybe, and they do, like, even if he didn't have a lot of, there's allegations, a whole bunch of stuff. Even if he didn't have that stuff, he's also very old. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm fine with if they have just shoveled him away to put Val as the lead of Thunderbolts or something. Yeah,
that would be totally cool. And I loved one of our patrons commented and mentioned a kind of theory that they were working on. I'm trying to, where was that? Where is Marvel?
MCU?
Yeah, in the Marvel. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So this comes from Dolphin Pants. He said, so real talk, Val obviously working for someone else making a team. Main theory is Thunderbolt Ross is making the Thunderbolts, which, I mean, cool. But think who we have: John Walker, Yelena, and more than likely Abomination, all parallels to the original Avengers. So what if they're doing Dark Avengers and just calling it Thunderbolts? Hear me out. What if Val is recruiting Clint? Not sure about that part, but because it seems like she wants to kill him, based on that ending. But it's kind of making sense to me. Anyway, the main point I want to make is, if we're doing Dark Avengers, we need an Iron Patriot or an Iron Man, and I doubt we'll get Norman Osborn. But can anyone think of someone who would want to steal a Stark suit with a company behind them? Justin Hammer.
Hell yes.
Hell yeah! I would absolutely love him to come back.
I will be so surprised if he isn't in Armor Wars. He's got to be in there. Yeah, he's got to be thrown in that series. Great theory. And it does feel, especially dropping Ross, who is obviously Thunderbolt Ross, out of the whole shebang. Yeah, it seems like they might just align it to a bit more of a Dark Avengers skew, which is fun. But we'll get back to that post-credit scene. How did you feel with this film? Because it jumps around quite a bit until they've kind of brought all the characters together. And I don't think I quite expected almost a road trip movie for the first like half an hour with Natasha and Yelena. Like, it's quite, once they got in a car and they were driving and chatting, I was like, oh, this is what this movie is it?
Yeah, totally. It was, there's a lot of fun in this. Like, there's just a lot of back and forth banter. We get a fair bit of talk about Budapest.
We do.
Which is kind of cool.
They're arrows, not bullets.
That's it. We get a bit more context for that sort of stuff. We get our Civil War giant location names. They're back, baby. Don't know why, but they are.
Yeah.
Were
they in Falcon and Winter Soldier? I feel like they weren't. I feel like we went small. I'm trying to remember. I feel like they might have actually.
I don't remember.
I don't know, but
yeah.
They are definitely back.
But it is just really cool. It's kind of, it's two sisters almost just trying to get to know each other again and just hanging out and sorting out a minor problem that is probably more major than minor, really. Because, women are little girls are getting stolen and turned into
just mindless assassins.
Yeah, assassins and stuff. So that seems problematic, obviously. But in the grand scheme of, Infinity War, it's a pretty small issue that only they seem to be aware of and trying to fix.
It's not aliens, wizards, or robots. I guess robots is kind of in there, but
a little bit. But it's just, it does move kind of at a interesting pace. But I really enjoyed it. Like, nothing overstayed its welcome. They just it just shows you everything I feel like you need to know, and that's it. Mm-hmm. It's just like, all right, we've done this part,
and they bounce.
Let's go over here. All right, done this part. We're going over here.
Let's move on. Let's go find Alexi.
Yeah, it's just like let's just keep this trainer moving.
It's
cool.
It rockets along. It's really good. The and you mentioned there's some funny bits. I think this has some of the most successful humor in a Marvel movie in a long, long time. I don't think a single joke falls flat in this movie at all. Because I love Guardians, but most of Guardians is not very funny. Like, Guardians 2 has poo jokes and like pee jokes and stuff, and it's like, okay, cool, James, it's not that funny. Like, this film has real literal deep cut jokes about what happened in the Red Room in terms of they go in and they remove and they pull out or whatever the Yelena line is, and it's funny. Everyone's performance is phenomenal, and even the kind of recovery from that scene, which is David Harbour, his reaction to that is perfect. It doesn't diminish the joke. It's not like, oh, I'm grossed out. He's just like, okay, I don't need to hear that. That's fine. I was very surprised by the humor in this movie, which was really nice.
I feel like this is one thing that I think I said to you and I've said to a few other people that have seen it, but I think one of the things that really makes this humor hit real hard is because they're Russian. The Russian accent totally. And how blunt Russian humor is, or at least what we know to be Russian humor and how blunt they are at talking to each other in other films and stuff. It just hits so hard. They hold nothing back, and that just shines constantly throughout this whole movie. They're never holding back. Also, Russian accents, so good. Nearly everyone's accent is just it's so good. It doesn't feel like a weird Scarlet Witch kind of jumping in and out and kind of cracking back into an American accent or whatever. It just hits. It works.
They just nail it. If anything, and I actually think the weakest person in this whole film, unfortunately, is Scarlett Johansson. She has very, very little to do in this movie. She's obviously leading the crux of the plot. She finds Yelena, and the two of them then go to find everyone else, and she is the one there at the end of it. There's a weird emotional undercurrent between her and what ends up being Taskmaster, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second. But generally, she just doesn't do much in this movie, and I was really disappointed because it's at the end of this is, and she said and gone on record, this is her last ever appearance as Black Widow, and
wow, okay.
It's not. This is it. This is the final thing you see of her is her awkwardly walking to a big CGI Quinjet in a dense woodland. But it's it's a weird film because if this had come out in that gap, if it had come out after Civil War, it would kind of be fine. But there's a slight disconnect of this doesn't feel like that it ends or it pays tribute to her character in any way, which obviously it's a movie that it's not built to be that. But there's some aspect of it that I'm like, oh, I would have liked like a big hero moment for her, but I feel like that never quite happens. Like in terms of the action, the biggest Widow-centric one-on-one fight that happens is her and Taskmaster on a bridge in almost pitch black dark, and you can barely see anything.
Yep.
Because from there on, the fights that happen are like Taskmaster and Red Guardian, or Yelena and this other person, while Widow smashes her head on a table. It's like, it just, I felt sad that there wasn't more of Natasha, but it's a weird thing because it doesn't hurt the movie in any way because everyone else's performances are great. And again, it's not like it was missing anything in terms of being a finished film. It just, for me, I was a bit sad there wasn't more of a tribute to her character, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. But I guess, like, with you bringing up the fact that, Yelena and Red Guardian and stuff have their moments, it's almost like their origin story.
Yeah.
Like, this is them. Like, this is their introduction to then probably move on into the MCU. We know one of them's
Indiana
coming
Jones
back.
4. This is true. It's Indiana Jones 4, where Yelena is Mutt Williams, Indiana Jones' son, and they were really hoping that he would be the new Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That's what this is. That's a good point as well, yeah. It's just like, it's unfortunate that it's called that.
Yes.
It's called Black Widow.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe they should have called it Black Widows. Or maybe they should have called it The Red Room or something. I think maybe tying it directly to her as a character is what makes it feel like it should be more. Because, as a film, the narrative of it is everything it needs to be. Like, there's no room to be a tribute to Natasha. But, let's leave that plot point alone. The biggest thing in this film, technically, is the Red Room, which is in the sky, Joshua.
Whoa!
It's in the sky.
It's Avengers 1
was
again.
Totally, yeah. You might want to stand back. Like, I was... when they reveal it in the clouds, I remember just sitting there and going... And I pulled my headphones out.
You did, yeah. You were so shocked.
I was so shocked. I just sat there and went... All right, cool, sure.
I guess. Yep, we're doing that.
Yeah, I guess we can do. It was a moment because I was like, I in my brain, I kind of went, oh, the helicarrier was such a big deal. But then I went, well, this is set like 7 years after, so I'm sure tech got out and the Russians just were able to build sky things.
Yep.
But it was a cool thing, and there's a lot of references to James Bond. Very James Bond thing, like. A base in the sky is such a, like a bad guy base in the sky is such a classic James Bond kind of feel to it. So I did love that. And I loved all the, I was half an hour in and I went, I think this is my favorite James Bond movie. And then she's watching James Bond in the caravan. I'm like, wow, okay. Do we own that? We don't, for sure.
Yeah, that was a great moment. Like, there's just cool little references to other things throughout this.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said as well, I'm sort of disappointed just jumping right back to the stuff in Budapest. It's so weird to have to say Budapest now, now that she's corrected everybody. She didn't correct freaking Hawkeye in New York when he said Budapest.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, no, she said it. She said Budapest.
She said you... Yeah.
She said Budapest.
She said you and I... That's true. Well, they both say Budapest.
Yeah, she's reminds me of Budapest.
Reminds me of Budapest. You and I remember Budapest very differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
they both say it wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Inconsistent. But anyway,
Nick Fury, something about a butter knife. Doesn't like peanut butter on both sides of the bread or something. There's a line in Captain Marvel, and then in Avengers Age of Ultron, he butters both sides of the bread, and people are like, he's a Skrull!
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I had no idea.
It's either that or it's the fact he doesn't like being called Nick, because I think he also gets called Nick in that scene. I don't know where the butter bread things come from.
That's great. I love it.
One of those two things.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but I'm kind of a little disappointed that we didn't, like, there's just very minor references. I think I just wanted to say Hawkeye. I think I just wanted him to be in it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or just like, I don't know. I don't know what else I wanted in this, but just like a little bit more stuff about Budapest. I still don't really understand why New York reminded her of Budapest.
Aliens,
like I don't
aliens
really know the connection there.
I'd love to, because I think this movie almost solidifies that it was their origin story, because it seems to imply that they fought in that place that Yelena was hiding out in. The fact that there were arrows in the wall kind of seems like maybe that was their first interaction with each other when Hawkeye was trying to kill the Black Widow. Because I think that's kind of how it's written, is Hawkeye via the Avengers or via S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to go get the Black Widow to enlist her and try and hunt her down, basically.
Sure.
And so I assumed that's what the arrows in the wall kind of was. Or they're just in some kinky shit. We don't know.
Could be.
Because they definitely banged.
Unless it was like a different kind of, like other people breaking into her room and then they were both fighting them off, and so he had to fire arrows at the bad guys. So that apartment has seen some stuff.
Lots of banging of guns.
Yes, of course.
Of guns. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about Taskmaster. How'd you feel about that? Do you have you read much of Taskmaster in like comics and stuff? Like,
not a whole lot, to be honest. No, I think most of what I am aware of him from are the Spider-Man games. And like he's in Avengers, but I think I've only like seen him once or twice in the game.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, he constantly pops up in the Spider-Man ones because he's got such an interesting style of fighting. Spider-Man does. And so it's kind of like a very clear, like, oh, he's copying you or knows how to, interesting kind of connection there.
Totally.
So yeah, I am unaware of a lot of Taskmaster stuff, but I definitely know that this is not Taskmaster from the comics. Do you want to enlighten us a little more?
Absolutely. The one kind of past fact we find out about Natasha in this, apart from the opening sequence, is the fact that she, as part of seemingly S.H.I.E.L.D. or CIA or something, she was working with another agency and had to kill the main guy. He's whatever his name is, the guy that runs the Red Room.
Yeah.
There's so many Russian names in this that they all kind of blend into one.
There are.
Like, I can't remember. I think her mum's. Please, her mum's name's Melina, but then there's Yelena as well. So it's very confusing.
Oh, I don't think I picked up on that. But yeah, the main bad guy in this is just he's kind of nothing.
There. He's a Phase 1 villain.
Pops up and then doesn't. It's a bit.
Yeah. It's this film has the strong Marvel Cinematic Universe problem with villains. Like, it has two, and both of them are fairly weak. But yes, basically she has to kill Red Room Man, and in doing so, to her knowledge, also kills his daughter, who she sees is in the building but still executes the order.
Dreykov.
Name?
Dreykov.
Dreykov. There you go. Yeah, that's it. And the daughter's name was Antonia because in the comics, it's Tony Masters that wears the helmet. And in this film, it is Antonia who gets revealed like near the end of the movie. And I feel like most people would have done it. When the mask came off, I was like, okay, who are we looking at? What's this? And then I think he walks away. Well, it was funny because he's like hugging Taskmaster, and I was like, the fuck is going on? Like, what is this? Why is he hugging this man? And then I think within a few seconds of that, the person, which is his daughter, and him standing next to each other, I was like, oh, is it? Okay, cool. Yeah. I guess that's something.
Yeah, I think throughout this whole movie, because throughout the whole movie, I'm like, all right, who is Taskmaster? We're going to figure this out. And there was like, the Mason, I think his name is, Mason, it's on IMDb here, who's the guy that gets her resources and safe house things.
Q from the Bond films. Basically.
Exactly, yeah. He, like, initially, like, you would go, it's probably him. He knows where she is. He knows where to find her. Because she tells him, because she trusts him, and then it's going to be that. So you kind of think that. At the same time, I kept thinking like each of the family members, but then each of the family members had a moment where Taskmaster and them would be in like the same chase or the same fight. So I'm like, all right, it's none of them.
Yeah.
So we're ruling out all of those guys. And then I think not long, like pretty much in the reveal scene, they start talking about the daughter a lot. And I was like, okay, there it is. Like you're talking about it so much right now. I'm like, right, it's the daughter.
It has to be.
Yeah. And so when he did the kiss, I'm like, yes, there it is. It's the daughter.
There it is. Yeah, good.
So
good. I was out of the loop.
It kind of clicked for me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, sweet.
That's cool. Yeah.
But also, like
whatever.
Yeah.
It's a weird one because this is her last film. I guess if this was earlier, or if there was the potential for more adventures with Natasha as Black Widow, you at least then have this thing where when Taskmaster shows back up, there's a connection there. But the connection they have formed between Black Widow and Taskmaster serves this one film, and at no point will her being the daughter of a Red Room dude ever be important.
No.
Like, there's no other reason that exists except for like some sort of connection between our hero and the villain. And it's like, you didn't really need to do that. Like, it could have been anyone. It could have been Tony Masters. Like, you could have called the Q guy Tony, and he could have ended up wearing it at some point in the movie. Like, it doesn't hurt the movie, but I do think it lessens it because you have a villain that doesn't speak already. Taskmaster in the comics, pretty quippy. Even in the games and stuff, he's kind of bouncing off Spider-Man in a more aggressive way, but there's something there.
Yeah.
In this, no speaking because she's been brainwashed and can't speak. She's burnt. There's probably a lot of problems. And then your other villain is the most bland man with like he's probably got the worst Russian accent in the whole film as well.
Yes.
Like it's very like loose.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
It's not great. So it's like, you by taking away the voice of Taskmaster, you lost all your villains. Like there was nothing left to kind of have.
And they kind of, it seems like, they undid her brainwashing by using the powder stuff.
The pheromones.
So it's like, all right, so we don't have Taskmaster anymore because Taskmaster's not a bad guy. All right.
What's that about?
I guess they just removed another villain. Done.
Totally
used and
one
abused.
and done again. Unless it is that thing of now we have this. The suit is out there, and the suit has a chip that can go in it. So maybe this is setting up that Val picks up the suit, and she's like, I know a dude that can wear this.
Yeah,
or something like
maybe
that.
Instead of like Green Goblin, we get a Taskmaster.
Totally. Yeah.
Like just add him in as like a leader, a very like strong, competent leader of that group.
Totally.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'd be down for that. That'd be cool. But as it stands, not the greatest. Again, it's such a weird thing because I feel like, in Thor 2, Malekith, terrible villain. The whole movie sucks. Villains aren't great, but there's still so much going on in this film, and I think the fact that your main cast is so strong, it doesn't really... You never get annoyed that the villains suck because you're still enjoying seeing them, and the whole... I joked about it before, but the whole way Natasha breaks through his pheromones to be able to attack him and stuff was actually great. Like, as soon as you realize what's going on, you're like, oh, this is cool. Like, as soon as he hit her, I'm like, oh, I mean, this is definitely helping this is helping block something.
Yeah.
I think actually the one thing I would have removed is all the like flashbacks to them setting it up, because it's like I kind of didn't need those beats of here's our plan and because I'm like, I can see it. I can see your plan. I know that you're all on the same page.
Yeah.
I don't need that sequence of you chatting about what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit, that was definitely they did a screening and there was some slightly slow people in the audience that didn't catch on to what was going on, and they got those notes, and then they got Scarlett Johansson and Rachel Weisz in a little warehouse, and they went, okay, we're just going to get you to read some lines for us. Because that's really what it felt like. Because it's like nothing ever happens. It's always the two characters facing opposite each other being like, okay, so the plan is this, right? Yeah. Yes, it is. All right, cool. And then it just splashes back. And it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Like, I think, because she just hits her head. I don't think she hits her nose. So it's like she blocks a receptor. Like she severs a nerve in the middle of her head. I don't think I would have picked up that was what she was doing, but if she just straight up hit her nose and just like broke her nose or something.
Like halfway through it was like blood coming out of her nose, so I was like, okay, cool. So she's blocking her nose.
Sure.
That's what I kind of went with. Yeah, but totally.
I just assumed there was like some sort of like nerve receptor that just goes straight to the brain, and so she basically just destroys that by smacking it. But yeah, I don't think I would have picked up on that unless we had that little scene at the start. Fair. But the other little jumps, like, put on the mask,
the earpiece and stuff,
and the earpiece and stuff. It's like, no, it's fine. We know.
There's some weird like editing choices in this, because one of the best jokes with the earpiece is when Alexi's like, "I'm so sorry," and just starts doing this massive speech. And I feel like there was I feel like the joke got lost a little bit, because they stay on the wide shot and Melina's just like, you don't have an earpiece, and he's like, what? And then it cuts away. I feel like he needed a couple of other shots in there to kind of get her line, his line, because it was just like he did the whole speech and it was in a single shot, so there wasn't much pace to it. But it's such a great, because like the whole time you're like, there's no way anyone's hearing him. Like his speech is going on way too long for this to be relevant.
Yeah, totally. And he's just like, I can't hear you, and I don't know if you can hear me, but it's like, she can't. Yeah. Like,
she can't. There's only two earpieces.
Yeah, it's great. Such a good moment. He's so good. Oh, man, David Harbour.
I'm so glad he didn't die. I'm so glad.
Ooh, yes.
But, and then they blow up the facility. There's a big old skydiving sequence that we've seen for the past year and a half.
That's it. Oh, yes. It's they just Avengers it again. Like, one of the engines gets destroyed and they have to save the day and evacuate before it hits the ground. It just happened again.
Yeah, just things dropping from skies. It's the Avengers speciality.
Love
it. Speciality sounds like the wrong way I've been saying it, but specialty sounds correct.
Specialty.
Budapest. That's it. There's like a brief fight with Taskmaster on the ground, but really it's all about getting that pheromone spray out. And and she does the spray for all the other Black Widows. And
that's right. There's a bunch of other widows, and she needs to change them, and she almost just gets beaten the crap out of.
Totally.
Yeah.
And again, that's another bit where I'm like, I wish there was more to those characters. Like,
yes.
There's like there's an establishing shot of them. There's obviously one of them dies early on, who I actually thought that was who Taskmaster was when they took the helmet off the first time. I was like, oh, weird. Weird that we're back to that one random character.
Yeah, nice.
But there's a few bits of the Black Widows out in the wild. Obviously, Yelena was on a mission with them when it all kind of goes down and stuff like that. But it just felt like, it felt like such a weird... It almost felt like they knew they had the Dora Milaje and Black Panther, and they were like, well, let's make another all-lady army that we can call upon when we need to. Because it's like, that's what they've done now. There's just like this group of badass women that they can just go, all right, here's the Black Widows, and they've all turned up to save the day now, with Taskmaster possibly leading them or something. Cool. It was such a weird... And then they like arrive on their ship and they're like, come with us, everything's fine. And it's like, what the fuck is going on now? What is this movie?
It is so weird.
Why aren't you leaving, Natasha? Just get on the jet.
And now that we've brought them up, I just want to jump back to when, what did I call him? What did I say his name was? Markov or whatever? Drakov. We still don't know. He's so nothing.
So nothing.
Him like giving away his plan and talking about everything he's done and saying, so I used the world's biggest resource, girls.
Girls. What? There's too many of them.
What are you talking about? Like,
also, and not as a power move, I'm also pretty sure, like, statistically wise, there's more dudes in the world, right? Like, that's a number that I feel like has been out there.
I have no idea. But
I don't know. I feel like I've heard that at some point.
It's just such a weird thing. Like, that's just a line they could have not had, because it kind of doesn't.
Here's the thing.
Make sense.
I'm pretty sure I read an interview ages ago where they basically, the aim of his character, and when you hear this, you'll see what they were trying to do with him.
Okay.
And you'll see what they must have patted themselves on the back and been like, we fucking nailed this. They wanted him to basically be, and even visually, once I say this name, they wanted him to be Harvey Weinstein. That was their like approach to his character.
Okay.
And when you think about it, it's a creepy dude pulling upon women from across the world to kind of to his nefarious things. And so that line I feel like is in there entirely to hammer home that final point of what they were going for with that. Yeah. Which is like, it's a weird tribute because this film, Scarlett Johansson has said it's only existing because of like the Me Too movement and everything that happened there. Sure. So it's like, it's that thing that I always say, like when a current affair does a thing on like a criminal. I'm like, well, you're just publicizing a bad dude, right? So it's like, well, I know what you've done here is to make Harvey Weinstein the villain he is. But it feels, again, where it's like, but you've made him, he's in a movie now. Like, you've made him famous for what he did. So, but I can entirely see what they were going for there and like all the meaning behind it and why that line is in it. But yeah, it's an uncomfortable line, but maybe it needed to be.
Maybe. It's just, it's a bit, just calling it like the world's largest resource or whatever he says. It's like,
yeah.
Like, word it differently. Word it like accurately. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's such,
I don't know.
Like, it's not the world's largest resource. There's more chickens in the world than humans.
Wheat. Yeah.
like there's other things. The world's biggest resource is not the way to go for that line.
No, totally.
But yes.
Otherwise, Thanos should have just enlisted little girls.
That's right.
I don't know where I was going with this analogy because he was talking about resources and stuff.
That'll do.
Yeah, whatever.
Just duplicate all the women. Because he needed to
save
increase the resources of the world.
Okay, yeah.
If people either half the population or increase the resources. That was like
so he needed
our argument. Increase women.
Yeah. There it is, everybody. Joshua
line.
Lawrence 2021, increase women.
Increase women.
Oh, hello. We're both two straight white men talking about the Black Widow movie.
That's right.
Aren't you glad you got to the end of this podcast? Oh my God. We enjoyed this movie. There's always a problem in a Marvel movie, and this one was unfortunately its villains. But outside of that, good friggin' fun. Good, simple start, as it would have been last year, to Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, yeah, good on you, guys.
Definitely. And a good movie to kind of jump back into, like, the MCU, like, actual movies.
The cinematic ones.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah. So it's a good, like, just kind of chill, like, return. Nothing too, like, world changing.
And it's lucky because the shows haven't done that yet either. So it's not like it feels weird.
Yeah, definitely. But what movie is next? Is it Shang-Chi or Eternals?
It is, Shang-Chi in God, it's such a clustered year at the end of it. I want to say September or something because we've got that. We've got Venom. We've got Eternals. We've got Spidey.
And then Spidey and Hawkeye. And then other things in between.
And Miss Marvel. And What If.
And What If. Oh my goodness.
There's a lot still to come. And quickly as well, Hawkeye gets in the movie, but not for very long.
Yeah.
The whole crux of the end credit scene is for Val to tell Yelena, go murder Hawkeye, which is the situation I feel like will last maybe 5 minutes when he's like, hey, I didn't. She sacrificed herself to save the entire universe. So give me some slack. Leave me alone. And there'll be a fun fight between the two of them, like a good 2-minute fight, and then it'll be kind of fine.
It'll be like a fight between Black Widow and Natasha and Yelena in Budapest. It'll just be that again. And then
I was going to say it'll be like or I was going to say, I thought you were going down this path. It'll be like every fight Natasha and Clint ever had, which is like 2 minutes, and then they go, are we still friends? Depends on how hard you hit me. It's like, why are you fighting again every time?
Totally.
There's 3 movies, 3 Avengers movies you're in together, and you fight every time. So, Yeah, it'll totally be something like that. But it's nice to know there's a little confirmation there. I'm excited. I'm intrigued though, because obviously Kate Bishop, young Avengers, not Dark Avengers. So it's interesting that they're going to kind of cross paths, but not go to the same team. So that's an interesting thing. It's interesting. Yeah, all it is.
That's it. I'm very intrigued with where they go with all of these. Like, there's so many young people. There's the normal Avengers, which are now not the normal Avengers, but kind of the C version of the Avengers.
Yeah, totally.
And then and then you've got Dark Avengers. Like, there's just so many things happening. It's very cool. Like, whatever happens by the end of this next, I don't know, 3 phases or however long they take to reach their next big bad, it's going to be intense, because it's going to be like
a lot of people,
3 teams coming together with very different backgrounds and stuff like that. It's going to be very, very cool, hopefully.
Yeah. It's like in Endgame, there's so many like miscellaneous just teams. But in this one, there'll be that many people, but they'll all be named.
Yes.
Because there'll just be so many people.
Yeah. It'll be and they're all like Avengers. It'll be the Avengers.
There'll be X-Men.
There'll
be Fantastic Four.
That's right. Then we got, Dark Avengers, Young Avengers, Revengers,
all 3 of them.
Out of space.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
So keen.
I don't know how we're talking about how cool the Marvel Universe is after watching a 2.5-hour movie where nothing happens. But here we are anyway. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for enjoying the madness. If you want more of this madness, if you are listening to this, you can follow our podcast right here, wherever you are. But if you want to see it visually, you can jump on over to youtube.com/each to their own, where the video goes up there. But we also go live. Where do we go live, Josh?
We go live on twitch.tv/each to their own. No. Twitch.tv/ETTOnline. My bad. ETT
That's right.
online. So jump over there in probably 10 to 15 minutes from at the time of recording, not at the time of listening to this.
No.
Which you won't be able to.
What's the point of that one?
It was a joke. It's
a great joke. It's a great joke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we basically just play games. You talk about figures on a Wednesday. I sometimes do things on a Thursday if I can. I can't for a couple of weeks. But there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on over there. So come check it out. We're both Will and I nearly every single Monday. So if you want to come hang out with us, this sort of vibe, just playing video games, having a chat, every Monday around 8-ish. So 15 minutes ago, again, from the time of recording.
Yeah. And also,
stream time.
You may have seen me shut down for a second there because Josh has been contemplating about changing the channel name. And when you said it the wrong way, I was like, why the fuck don't we just call it that? Why isn't it just each to their own?
I can't remember why. I feel like we tried and it was taken.
Surely it's not taken. No one's got that as their Twitch handle. I'm going to find out.
Can we at least try like ETTO? Just ETTO, because we are ETTO, not each to their own, and that would be much easier. We'll figure that out. All right.
We'll find out. But if you want to support us in that decision, you can jump on over to patreon.com/each of their own. Just $3 will get you into our super secret Discord, where we will let you know 15 minutes has passed that we're gonna stream on Twitch.
Hell yeah.
It'll be fine. You'll all be there, and you'll have fun with cool people like Dolphin Pants, who gave us that awesome theory earlier on in the podcast. Do you want to be in a podcast? Jump on to patreon.com/each of their own.
And do you want free chocolate from me for some reason? Do that, because I sent Dolphin Pants some chocolate and it should arrive tomorrow.
That's it.
What a ledge. He's a good guy. He's great.
He's a good guy. And so are we. Until the next podcast, I've been Will.
I've been another great guy. Catch you later.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.